So the text we are going to read this time, not much to read, but the text that we are going to discuss today will be quite interesting as well as challenging. So, kind of background, I'll read something that I wrote before. These days what I try to do is not only talking, but I collect some really important, relevant points and just read them, which is more impactful than my trying to say something on the spot, right? Buddha gave 84,000 teachings during the course of his life. This very large number illustrates the idea that the Buddha's teachings are so extensive that people in all kinds of different situations can find within them something that meets their particular need. Not fast, huh? In fact, he gave various levels of teachings to suit the various needs and mental dispositions of his followers. His teachings are based on the idea that all beings experience life as a cycle of birth and death and rebirth, samsara. He taught that the aim is to escape from this cycle of suffering and that there is nothing about us or about what we experience that is eternal and unchanging. There's nothing that is eternal and unchanging, although that's what we think. Flux is pervasive. Flux means change is pervasive. Primarily, the Dharma he taught was essentially in accordance to the law of nature. The Dharma that he taught was in accordance with the law of nature. In accordance with the law of nature, and hence ahistorical. It speaks of universal truths and addresses the universal human situation, out of which one of the most important is our desire to have lasting happiness and to shun suffering. So the key question is how to obtain long-lasting happiness. The key question is how to obtain long-lasting happiness in an impermanent and changing world. Things are changing, things are impermanent. That's what we are going to talk. And then to try to achieve that long-lasting happiness in a changing world. That's the challenge. He taught the wonderful path of finding happiness in our daily life and also to find lasting happiness in the form of achieving nirvana, dharma, or complete enlightenment. For this, it is important to first understand some of the salient features of law of nature, like nature of causality and interconnected reality, and these are the topics that he taught right after his enlightenment. Therefore, the foundational view or philosophical tenet systems of Buddhism, which distinguish it from others, is the view of four promulgations or axioms or four seals that we are going to read. Chakja his. Chakja his, just like king putting a seal and then asking his citizens that you should not violate it, you should follow it. So if you are Buddhist, on the one hand you have to follow the Buddhist conduct, another is to follow the Buddhist philosophy. The summary of Buddhist philosophy is the four seals. These four seals talks about the Buddhist philosophy which you should not violate if you are Buddhist. Philosophically, you must understand this, accept this and follow this. And in terms of your conduct, behavior, you should take refuge to Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. And if you violate it, again you are violating the needed conduct that must be followed by a Buddhist. Tawe chani, chobe chani, tawe chani, chakja hidan damirungwa. Chobe chani, jamdusum, japsum kita, kelanchi da mandawas, this is what. So what are these four seals? All conditioned things are impermanent, all contaminated things are suffering, all phenomena are selfless or without self, and transcendence of suffering is peace. These four are also referred to as four summaries. Tadil ming mangoyore, chuji domhi, chuji dohi, chuji chagjahi. Any pional tawakata ji chagjahi. This is ming mangotadua. Four summaries, this is called four summaries, as it gives a summary explanation of both the conditioned phenomena and unconditioned phenomena. Given the inexhaustible nature and variety of the conditioned and unconditioned phenomena, inexhaustible nature and variety of the conditioned and unconditioned phenomena means if you are to count the number of conditioned phenomena and unconditioned phenomena, it's countless. You can't count it, right? So his teaching is basically summarized into these 4 points. This one, hakuati, or the ropes hakueche. Let me say a little bit about these four seals. Four seals, as I said, summary. Just as in the Vajrayana path, that is in the Tantric path, the meaning of the two letter evam sejore. Just as in the Vajrayana path, the meaning of the two letter evam is a sealed promulgation of the great Dharma King that summarizes the principal meaning covering the whole of 84,000 classes of teachings. Similarly, in the wisdom perfection, in the wisdom perfection vehicle also, this presentation of the four seals is also the seal of the great Dharma King that covers the 84,000 classes of teaching. Doshone, chakdehina saman dugures. Ngashone, evam se signa chazan dugures. It is that coaching with. Among the sutric teachings of the Buddha on the four seals, among the sutric teachings of the Buddha on the four seals, there is the shortest form of questions of Arya Sagar, Nagaraja, Paricha, Nama Mahayana Sutra, which I have distributed. The Dusho Chikche, Dindore from Sanji Sung. These Tapuveki, Kebat, Yagar Kebasuke, Pugele Jur, and the Lokashi Kung, the Injigaling Jurimbadi. Similarly, Arya Tathagata Chintaya Guhaya Nirdesha Mahayana Sutra, Arya Ratana Rashi Sutra, the Mangoyor, which explains more of the four seals comparing to other sutras. In the cases of Tatenchu Nala, in the cases of Shastras, treatises by Indian scholars explaining the four seals, there is the sutra commentary of Arya Shayamati Nirdesh Sutra, the root and commentary of Sutra Alamkara, the root and commentary of Bodhisattva Bhumi, and so forth. Mangboyore. Then Pebe Kebagativa, likewise, Tibetan scholars also have written commentaries like the one by Pruchong Awang Chamba, Rongdong Shija Kunzik, Jume Pham, and so on. The latest, the one by Gen Lamrimpa Ngawang Phuntsok in Tibet on the four seals, which the library has published, both in Tibetan and English. If you want to do further reading, I recommend to buy and read it. So that way you are also helping library. I'm also doing some business now, see? Buy our books, okay? Innumerable teachings of various length and content from the 100,000 verses Wisdom Perfection Sutra to the one letter of Wisdom Perfection Sutra are given by the Buddha to better serve the varied mental dispositions of followers. Among these varied teachings, the teachings of the four seals is well known to all Buddhist scholars. Are you listening for these four seals for the first time? Now make it a point. Tawakata ji chakjahi, four seal, Gordata. The four seals or the four promulgated seals of Buddhist view refer to those essential and concise points of the sublime teachings of the Buddha that are tightly bound by the promulgations of the Buddha and thus are not to be trespassed or go beyond the boundary. If you are Buddhist, you must follow and accept this Buddhist philosophy. If you cross this boundary, then you naturally lose from belonging to the class of those accepting the Buddhist view and philosophy. It is because of this crucial point and to ensure that his followers do not trespass this demarcation, the compassionate Buddha in many of his sutras taught the four seals. Next one. Then let us kind of start by doing a prayer together. Refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Before we read the actual text, let us do this prayer together. In the Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the accumulation of practicing, giving, and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then we read this text together. This is the actual teaching of the Buddha, four seals. The Noble Mahayana Sutra, the question of the Naga King Sutra, Lui Jabu Jasu Shuben Dosidre. Nyamdinda. Prostration to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Thus I did here at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling at the place of the Naga king Sagara, together with a great assembly of 1,250 bhikshus, as well as a multitude of Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan said to the Naga king Sagara, Lord of the Nagas, if one utters these four aphorisms of the Dharma, in uttering them, one is expressing all 84,000 articles of the Dharma. What are the four? They are as follows. What are the four? They are as follows. To fully engage in understanding the inexhaustible doctrine of the Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, that all compounded phenomena are impermanent. To fully engage in understanding the inexhaustible doctrine of the Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, that all contaminated phenomena are suffering. To fully engage in understanding the inexhaustible doctrine of the Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, that all phenomena are without self. To fully engage in understanding the inexhaustible doctrine of the Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, that Nirvana is peace. Lord of the Nagas, if one utters these four aphorisms of Dharma, in uttering them, one is expressing all 84,000 articles of the Dharma. When the Bhagavan has spoken in this way, the bhikshus and bodhisattvas rejoiced and greatly praised the teachings of the Buddha. This completes the Noble Mahayana Sutra, the question of the Naga King Sutra. Those who can read Tibetan, most of the Tibetans, you should get the Tibetan copy of this and read it. What do you say? That the Jablo the Chig Sigda. Tangbanga to log, then I watch Hingrawa. Duducher, Chojudum Hindishi Duduch. Explanation of the four seals of Buddhism. The four seals, axioms, say axioms, axiom, the aphorism said it, Nyung Sigorva, Nyung Tanda Tevat Hede, Nyung. The four seals, axioms that are common to all schools of Buddhism have a profound significance for the practitioner. The Pendo Yorasigur that day. The Pendo Yemang to discuss Chegor. The first seal, Kare, all conditioned things are impermanent. That is the first seal. The first seal states that all composite phenomena are impermanent. Now, what does that mean? The nature of impermanence is explored to its fullest extent in the tenets of the Sautantika school, Dodeba. According to this view, all composite phenomena are impermanent. Impermanent, in that they are momentary. The very conditions that brought them into being also caused their disintegration. That means, normally when you are born, then you think the cause that made you born is good. Then we think the cause for the death should be a separate cause. The very cause which produced you is also the cause for your death. That's what he's saying. The very condition that brought them into being, anything, you or tree or any impermanent thing, that very condition that brought any conditioned thing into being also is the cause for their disintegration, for their passing away, for their death, for their demise. Anything or event that comes into being as a result of other factors, that they looked at. I like this very much. Anything or any event that comes into being as a result of other factors, does not record a secondary condition for its disintegration. The moment it comes into existence, the process of disintegration has already begun. The moment, that means when you are born, the first moment you are born, you are already subjected to old age. You are already subjected to disintegration. And in fact, from the very second moment, aging has started. Normally we think aging means when you're over 60 or something, when your hair becomes white and your forehead gathers wrinkles and things like that. But no, from the very second moment. So aging means changing the state from one to another. That's aging. And the good thing with aging is it comes slowly and unnoticingly. You already changed from yesterday to today. And even from the time when you have entered and until now, you already changed. The only thing, good thing is, you have not, good or bad, I don't know, is you don't notice it. You don't notice it. Now science is proving that. And the change is so much there in our human life that it is said after every 7 years, after 7 years, your whole body is completely changed. Completely Sigurda. You may or may not believe this. That is the reality. And therefore there is this story of a convict who was imprisoned for certain criminal deeds, but he had learnt about this scientific finding. So after 7 years he said, now I'm a completely different person, please release me from the prison. So, condition for its the moment it comes into existence, the process of disintegration has already begun. In other words, the mechanism for cessation is built into the system itself. The mechanism for cessation means mechanism for demise, mechanism for death, mechanism for aging is built into our system itself. Now look at this. So don't think, you're not going to die, you're not going to. That's what we normally think. It is as if things and events carry the seed of their eventual demise. If you still don't understand it, then try to watch a documentary on the internals of human body. How the lungs breathe, how the cells function, how the heart pumps and things like that. You will be shocked to death. Very fragile. Now why we need to discuss things like this? Why do we need to discuss things like this? Some people who don't understand Buddhism, they say Buddhism is a very pessimistic religion. It talks about death, it talks about impermanence, it talks about suffering. No. Buddhism is not pessimistic. Buddhism is realistic. Buddhism never tries to fool you by saying everything is good, everything is perfect, you are not going to die. It's not saying that. It's talking both about the day and the night. We all like sunshine, right? But imagine if there is just light and no darkness. You will all get crazy. Because it's because of the night that in the day you may have a lot of problem, but after a nice sleep, then you do away all your problems, difficulties. Next morning you come out as kind of nice new person, new energy. That is the advantage. I mean, we need to do a lot of research on these things. So before I forget, one thing that I want to explain to you is, and ask you this question, and then later on for your understanding, I'll read some interesting articles. There's one article which talks about our yearning for immortality. Our yearning for immortality and why we long for permanence in a universe of constant change. Shigme sambachigda. Po look gupchu. Kongas dwa living hiro yuding chigla. Po la gibu hurido. If you even ask a very elderly person, say 95 years old, and who is sick, who will die at any moment. If you go to that old man and ask about his death, imminent death, when are you going to die? Are you going to die soon? He will say, yes, I'm going to die soon, but not today. That's the problem. So why we long for permanence in a universe of constant change? What is it this one saying? That everything is in a flux, everything is changing, The famous statement which says you cannot step into the same river twice. Next time you put your feet in the water, it's a different water. So what are we trying to discuss by saying this? All our negative emotions come from grasping, seeing things as permanent. Permanent, grasping. Whatever you fancy, whatever you like, I want to have this, I want to enjoy, I want to live with this person forever, I want to live in this house forever, It is because of this grasping you get all the problems. So it is for the purpose of relaxing this grasping that we need to understand impermanence. And we should not be frightened by impermanence. We should not be, one of the writers, he says, you should not be frightened by thinking about short life. And this article says, I'm tempted to read this, he says, we suffer from a hallucination. Hallucination means from a false and distorted sensation of our own existence as living organism. We don't know about our life. It is almost banal to say so. Yet it needs to be stressed continually. Unless you are told you are impermanent, you are going to die, unless you are told about this continuously, you forget. I used to do this myself when I was not translating for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. When I was a student in the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics and attend his teachings, I get so inspired and moved. Then I said, I will now do some practice. I'm determined to do some practice. But that determination, you know how long it lasts? until to the gate of the temple. Because inside the temple, when you're listening, you get so inspired. Now I'll do practice. As soon as you step out of that threshold of the temple and mingle with this sea of human beings, it really looks like saying, welcome back to the familiar world. Redu medu. And then we forget again. So that's why it's important to talk about these things repeatedly, relate it to your life's experience. Count the number of people, whose death you have seen, you have experienced. Not to unnecessarily frighten you, but to really remember. And the teachings, text is, they say that even if you see the death of a fly, you should say, I'm not different from this one. So what is the benefit, again, of thinking like that I'm going to die, I'm impermanent? What is the benefit? One, as I said, you're grasping to things will loosen. The more you loosen your tight hold, grasping to things, the more you will be free. Like, for example, I fancy this, I like this, and I then hold on to it. It looks like I got it, but look at the situation of my hand. My hands are not free. Juchala, ming the kosala duksun, jude, topsung samge yorde, rawayo mare. But if the moment I relax it, I'm free, I can sing, I can dance. Therefore he is saying, yet this is not a Buddhist text. It's written by a very famous Western scholar, but comes to the same point. Yet it needs to be stressed continually. All is creation, all is change, all is flux, all is metamorphosis. But banal as it may be, it is also intolerably discomforting to accept. Here is it. You feel uncomfortable. Roa, shinyam yela maybe pogu je zembo silabre. Meda roshin juru uktigin roluk silabre. Shinyam yela maybe pogu je zembo means you are the wild human being who never thinks about death. Shinyam yela maybe pogu je zembo. But the reality is, meda roshin juru sam uktigin roluk. The demarcation between a person who is living and person that is dead is just this breath. When you breathe out and cannot breathe in, that is called death. That's called death. That's called death. That's why in the poster that I put there, so that in the poster advertisement I put this one from some other source. One day we all will depart on a journey free of cost. Ordinarily, you have to buy your train ticket, air ticket, it's not free. But one day we all will depart on a journey free of cost. Don't worry about seat reservation, it's confirmed. Ordinary journey, you need to do a lot of confirmation, right? Don't worry about seat reservation, it is confirmed. The flight is always on time. Delay, namhi duja duksera dikhe mare. Flight is on time. And tikal chala karki chorlam na. Our good deeds will be our luggage. Now today, even when we are alive, when you travel, you are not allowed to carry too much. They will call it excess baggage, and they will charge you. Right? But at that time, you can't carry anything. Our good deeds will be our luggage. And humanity will be our passport. If you had while alive, served human beings or sentient beings, then you have the passport, not the ordinary passport. Love will be our visa. Make sure we do our best to travel safely in the business class. It is also intolerably discomforting to accept, which is why we retreat into our hallucination. In Tibet we have a saying, If you see somebody engaging in many destructive activities, then we say, then we say, this person never thinks about death. Meaning, if you really think about death, your whole life will change. If you really think, not just talking. If you really think. If you talk about nirvana, it's good. If you talk about enlightenment, it is good. But it will not make much impact to you. Because nirvana is far. You don't have any experience. Enlightenment is far. You don't have any experience. So just talking, as you fancy, you talk about something good. It will not make much change. But if you talk something about you, your death, your imminent death, death is definite for everybody. Bad news. Another bad news is not only the time of death is not only death is definite, but the time of death is indefinite. The time of death is indefinite. This morning or yesterday I was reading this Kobe Bryant, the famous basketball player. He was killed in a helicopter crash with his young daughter. 9 people, all of them got killed. See? Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest NBA players of all time, and a superstar who transcended sports, was killed. And he was a very special, skillful player. According to TMZ Sports and the New York Times, Bryant's daughter, Gianna, was also killed in the crash. But he's dead, but he has shown something in his life. For 20 seasons, Kobe showed us what is possible when remarkable talent blends with an absolute devotion to winning. Whatever good thing you are doing, he was one of the most extraordinary players in the history of our game, with accomplishments that are legendary: 5 NBA championships, an NBA MVP award, 18 NBA All-Star selection, and 2 Olympic gold medals. But he will be remembered most for inspiring people around the world. That's my point. And we are all going to die, sooner or later. But if you live and do something, then that good deed that you do will last for a long, long time. But he will be remembered most for inspiring people around the world to pick up a basketball and compete to the very best of their ability. He was generous with wisdom he acquired and saw it as his mission to share it with future generation of players, taking special delight in passing down his love and the game to Guyana and so forth. That is life. We can go anytime. So what? You still might think, so what? One day everybody is going to die, so what? So while I am not dead right now, so I will enjoy. So we are going to die, so enjoy life. That's what we normally think. That's a little bit stupid. A little bit stupid. Because many of the destructive things that we do is because we don't realize the importance of our human life. How fleeting it is, right? So therefore it is important to not to misuse this human life, but rather to use it for benefiting many others. So let me continue this one. I am reading all these articles and explaining things to you so that you are able to understand these things much more clearly, not just reading a traditional Buddhist textbook, which sometimes may be difficult to understand. But the content is really similar. It is also intolerably discomforting to accept, which is why we retreat into our hallucination. We resist change. We long for immortality and we cling to the notion of the self. Despite Its ever-changing essence. It's changing all the time, but still we hold on to it. An anxious assurance of our own permanence in an impermanent universe. When we talk about death and impermanence, we can always read these holy scriptures, which is very good. But what is even more convincing will be, think about those impermanent, including death, that you had experienced in your own life. For example, this gentleman, Lightman, Alan Lightman is the name. He tells his own story. Lightman begins with the bittersweet beauty of a deeply human rite of passage. His own experience, bittersweet. As he walked his eldest daughter down the aisle, radiant in her white dress, a white dahlia in her hair, she asked to hold his hand and something else. She asked to hold his hand. Something else, something heavy yet inescapable gripped Lightman's heart. If you are somebody who is aware and thinking, then every moment, every relation, every touch you feel and you see it with awareness, then you realize what is it. Now he writes this, for example. Something else, something heavy yet inescapable, gripped Lightman's heart. And he writes, it was a perfect picture of utter joy because he's holding the hand of his daughter. And also utter tragedy. Because I wanted my daughter back as she was at age 10 or 20. Right now she is now more than that age. So as soon as he touches the hand, he remembers the incidences when she was much younger, much more beautiful, much more tender or things like that. Because I wanted my daughter back as she was at age 10 or 20. As he moved together toward that lovely arch that would swallow us all, other scenes flashed through my mind. My daughter in first grade holding a starfish as big as herself, her smile missing a tooth. My daughter on the back of my bicycle as we rode to a river to drop stones in the water. My daughter telling me the day after she had her first period. All this came back to his mind. But now she was 30. I could see lines on her face. So impermanence is there all the time. We only need that eye of wisdom to observe and see these things. And you observe it, there will be transformation in your life. For example, one of the Buddhist teachers, they say, you don't have to kill people, they will die. If you have that knowledge, then you realize, why should I kill someone? He's going to die. Similarly, why should I create problem to someone else? Because they already have the problem, The nyingje raji mato mduwa kege nyingje. Je wala dokzi tang se jo wa dinang shi mato ke mduwa. Do mdu. Devan do nya temu rangi deva datar joms. Even though everybody wants happiness, but they, because of ignorance, they destroy the source of their happiness. Nobody wants suffering, but we keep on chasing the causes for more suffering. However much you try to be clever, extra clever, you pretend and show that you are clever, but look at the situation where we are. We are really chasing suffering, problem. And now there's bad news in Wuhan, the coronavirus. It's all human doing. Because we keep on torturing animals, eating all kind of things. Now they say it comes from animal. That's why His Holiness and Buddha, everybody says, be ethical. If you are ethical, people are ethical, a little bit more compassionate, treat other sentient beings more nicely, all these problems will not be there. Now, how many troubles human beings have experienced? Karkariyore, mad cow disease, bird flu, swine flu, and then what was that other in Africa? Ebola. I mean, these are some of the names that become famous. There are so many other things, AIDS, cancer, and so many other things, which are all basically our own creation. The majority of the problems that we are having in the world today is not created by tigers, not created by lions or snakes. They are created by the so-called intelligent human beings. Tatada. Where is your intelligence? So it's really important for us to think carefully. If we use this human intelligence in the right way, we can bring so much peace and happiness. Just like His Holiness and the Buddha and many great thinkers do. Just one person can bring so much happiness, so much peace. But if you use this human potential in the wrong way, source of great destruction, suffering, misery, problem, unnecessary problem. Redwa. Because of lack of knowledge of the reality, including impermanence. Impermanence is reality. So what we should know, and what I would like to discuss, we should know how happy you will be or how much suffering you will experience is dependent upon how we are able to relate to the nature. As simple as that. Now if you look at nature, nature is not biased. If you look at sun, the sun will never say, I will shine only in America and not in China or Tibet. If there is an earthquake, it will never say, I will shake only the Tibetans and not the Chinese or things like that. It's not biased. Nature is not there to torture us. But we suffer because we don't know how to handle nature. Like for example, fire. If you know how to relate to fire, you will enjoy. Especially these days when it's very cold. If you have a nice hearth with fire, and then from a distance, make sure that the distance is not too far, not too close. Then you get the warmth, you get that happiness. But if you touch it, because you are getting heat, because you are getting warmth, therefore I like fire, and if you hug and touch, it will be destroyed. That's what we are doing with nature today. So similarly, many of these nature's manifestations, including impermanence, are not to be something not to be afraid of, but something that must be understood. Language. That's why in Buddhism, repeatedly we say, you are suffering because of having no knowledge, ignorance. Science also says the same thing. The word science means knowledge. Science, the word science comes from the Latin word scientia, which means knowledge. That means it is saying, because you don't have the knowledge, if you don't have the knowledge of producing electricity, you will have to sit in darkness, you will suffer. So with this understanding, they invented so many things and brought many good things also. But then, when the human mind uses it in the wrong side, then many of the scientific inventions like nuclear bomb have become now source of threat, source of destruction. So it's important to understand the law of nature and know how to relate to it. So impermanence is one very important thing. Now here, especially when in these fossils, when we are talking about impermanence, we are not talking about impermanence of everything. We can talk about all those things, but we are talking primarily about our own impermanence. Because you want happiness, do not want suffering. Therefore you need to know impermanence. Now if you know impermanence, then you will be able to see the importance of time, because time is fleeting. Time is going. Time and tide waits for none, as we say in English. Time is moving. Right? This reminded me a story of a Tibetan teacher who asked his students, "Are you studying Dharma?" He says, "Yes, sir, I am studying Dharma." Then the teacher says, No, you don't tell me lie. I saw you sleeping the whole night. And I saw you getting distracted in the day, so when do you find time to practice? That's the thing. And ordinarily we say life is short. Life is not necessarily short, but you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Whatever time you have, you're wasting it. We are not investing in ourselves. We are investing in a bank. We are investing with a corporate businessman. We are investing in things which is outside of you. You are not investing in yourself. The best investment is to invest within yourself. That means understanding your emotions, your reality, and then strengthening the positive emotions and reducing and weakening the negative emotions. This is real investment. Because at the end of the day, unless you help yourself, nobody can help you. Remare. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? And especially when you see this impermanent, transient nature of your body and your mind, then you will take better care of your health also. When you don't understand that fragile, transient nature of your body, you throw everything into your mouth. Ngarmo, churmo, karayona, sweet, salt, salty, sweet, bitter, whatever. Himbuduk segaji tandu. Pe himbuduk segaji. Sibe janja sadik do ngomong bujik. Sibe de Emily churmo de mango sandik do pumudeso. Not knowing that it is ruining your health. Not knowing the fragile things inside you. Amjil feudo, amjil diso kejetida. Nanglo diso. Ta documentary ten hago do I think so. Ta kanjo munjo look the dictionary mare. Lo de ning the chimba de diso loag diso nangla. Uk tensa ke sa chung de yore. Tinde chingan sarida sanginang. This is my hin because we don't know. Therefore we don't take care. I mean, this is a really wonderful thing. And especially if you one very good thing, gaining knowledge about the reality is, the more you know about the reality, the more it will help you strengthen your positive emotions, strengthen your good qualities. But it will destroy the negative emotions. I mean, it looks funny, but this is the way it is. If you understand the law of nature, it will help you strengthen your compassion, strengthen your love, strengthening your, harmonious life with other people. For example, when we understand the law of nature, that everything is interconnected, interdependent, we are interdependent, interconnected, that will help you extend your cooperation. That will help you live in harmony. That will help you develop compassion. When you understand that people are impermanent, they are going to die anytime, you develop compassion. Positive emotions will come. And negative emotions will not come. It doesn't make sense to harm somebody because that somebody is already suffering, already going to die. It doesn't make sense. Jisamji nguyo nisu shena, tesamji ki sangbu choba dusu shukshiru tangla pengiyor. Ngembe choba dusu kagela. And one very almost like stark example that I always give, which I thought is a good example from my own side. For example, if there is a very old person, 90-something years old, and also very sick, wounds all over the body, pus is oozing out. If there is such an old man here, when all of us see this old man, that's the reality. You are seeing the reality of that old man. Negative emotions will not come. Positive emotions will come. Meaning that when you see this old man, I think none of us will think about giving a kick to this old man. None of us will think about marrying this old man also. Attachment will not come. Porto shiringa yakbo shiu do dinyam do changsa jamgi lagrewe. Chakwa chig mundwa. Dangwa chig mundwa, dangwa. Porto dil dongja je shiu lag lagwe marwa. Instead we'll say, how poor. We'll develop some concern. Give him some water, give him medicine, take him to medicine, give him some food. The positive things will come. There's the beauty of understanding the law of nature, the reality. And what the Buddha taught is nothing but law of nature. Buddha's teachings are written found in the rocks, in the trees, in the earth, everywhere, in the water. He's talking about the way things are. Impermanence is not something that's invented by Buddha. Before the Buddha came, impermanence was there. Interdependence or shunyata or emptiness was not invented by Buddha. And in fact, one of the sutra, the Buddha says, whether the Buddhas come or not, the nature of all things is emptiness, interdependent origination. Then why he has to teach it? He has to teach it because even though the ultimate nature of everything is shunyata, impermanence and so forth, but people don't see it. Why people don't see it? Because people normally see what they want to see, not what they should be seeing. And in fact, the question arises why we are more fond of doing negative things than positive things. Why? Karchendra. Why? Karchendra. Why? There is a scientific finding called cognitive shortcut. Cognitive shortcut, Cognitive shortcut means within a very short moment of time, your brain and your mind is bombarded with 100,000 informations. Will you be able to retain all of these 100,000 informations? That you could someone live in Tugre. So you just among this 100,000 informations, you will select and keep only those things which you thought is important for me. That's called cognitive shortcut. If you in the Christian tradition, they talk about 7 deadly sins. 7 deadly sins. Why 7? Because at one point of the time, human brain can remember 7 or 8 or something like that, not more than that. So therefore, they came up with this idea of 7. They did not talk much more than 7. 7 deadly sins. And then the reason that we engage, we are fond of doing more kind of negative things like attachment, anger, and not positive things, because if you look at the theory of evolution, I think in the process of evolution, the evolution of trees and evolution of human beings are more or less same. The main purpose of evolution is to pass the gene to the next generation. It's not for enlightenment or Buddhahood. And for passing the gene to the next generation, you have to fight with somebody, you have to develop attachment to produce a child and things like that. So you end up with that process of evolution. But the good news is you don't have to get stuck there. If you make a little bit more effort and use your human potential, you can come out from that cycle. In Buddhism, we talk about coming out from the cycle of existence. So in the same vein, we can come out from this cycle and cultivate loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and get enlightened. The possibilities are there. It's not that there's no possibility. But it really looks like there's no possibility because the majority of us are just into this mundane thing. Taking birth and then getting married and then dying and all this process, samsara, cycle, recycling. Right? And then further he says, I don't know why we long so for permanence, why the fleeting nature of things so disturbs. If you hear that you are having cancer or you are going to die, you will be very, very frightened. We are scared of the fleeting nature. But the main thing is, even if you live very, very long, what are you going to do? The question is not about how long you live. The question is how you live. The question is not how many years you live. The question is how you will live today. The question is not how you live today. The question is how you live now. That's important. Because most of the time, we waste our time either thinking about something that has happened in the past or planning something for the future. So we don't live. We simply exist. There's a difference between existence and living. So you're planning for the future. I mean, you have to do some planning, but don't waste your time just thinking about the future. Future is yet to come. Hindi में बोलता है ना हम लोग कल किसने देखा? Who is in the future? Live now. Live now means very short moment. Now means the demarcation boundary, the line between the past and future is very thin. You have to be really alert. You can't live. And it's always kind of inspiration to see small kids who really enjoy the moment. So we have that potential, you see. But gradually when we grow up, our mind is दिमाग में भूसा डाल दिया सीख दो अच्छा लोग. When we grow up, we get the so-called education from a school or from university. We imitate what other people tell you to do. We don't think for ourselves. We don't think about the real life situation. So therefore we don't know how to live. We don't live within ourselves. So what is important is through understanding the meaning of impermanence, you need to go within yourself and live. Don't just exist, but live. Live. Don't waste your time for many, many unnecessary things, especially unnecessary things. And that's not easy because we are fond of going out, seeing things that is outside there, and outside there are so many things now, today. We are intentionally creating so many things to distract you more. This morning I was reading a text which says people who invite you repeatedly to give talks, they are actually doing more harm than help. They are wasting your time. And I'm invited by many people to give talks. I said, this is really true actually. Because they are not letting you be with you. You see? So learn to be with you. At least to start with, here and there, learn to be just yourself. And I repeatedly say one of the modern problem is we don't know how to live with others and also don't know how to live alone. There's a modern disease. And people have repeatedly asked me this question, Geshe-la, do you live alone? I said, yes, sir. Then they say, don't you feel loneliness? That is the thinking. So chikpur dena de hibuchi kangi chimbo imata usigdua. That's what gore. You need to learn to know. But if you need to learn to live alone and think, use your mind, and then take the resources within you out. Use your human brain to think, not just reading books, but also think. Then you will find so much wisdom that you don't have to run after other people or other resources to get happiness. Real happiness will just come out from inside. Now today we are living in such a strange world that when we talk about happiness, we immediately think about getting something from outside. Happiness from the shop, from the market, from the people, from the money, from the name and fame. What you get from outside is always dependent on those things that is outside. So therefore you really don't have control. So let us cultivate some inner qualities over which you have control. Change your perspective. And I repeatedly tell people, just don't keep on updating your mobile phone, but update yourself. Somebody recently touched my phone, said, Geshe-la, you always say don't update your phone. It looks like you updated your phone. We keep on changing, updating the phone. We keep on also changing the furniture, rearranging the furniture, not rearranging our internals. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, the real source of happiness has to come from within oneself and not from outside. And our grasping to permanence is so much. He gives some example. We visit and revisit the old neighborhood where we grew up because of permanence. Searching for the remembered grove of trees and the little fence. We clutch our old photographs in our churches and synagogues and mosques. We cling to the old wallet long after it has fallen apart. Yet in every nook and cranny, nature screams at the top of her lungs that nothing lasts, nothing lasts, nothing lasts. Nature is shouting. How? As I started by saying, count the people who you know died during the last few years. In the newspaper, in the television, we repeatedly read. But when you hear this news, what do you think? You think, okay, he is gone, not me. There's a story of a human being making friendship with a ghost. That ghost, Dungde, that ghost had some kind of clairvoyance. So the human friend said, I'm a little bit scared of death, but also want to enjoy life. Because you have clairvoyance, so therefore tell me a little bit in advance before I die so that I start doing my practice. Then the ghost friend said, yes, okay, that's fine. Then after a while, the ghost friend came and said, one member of the family living up died last night. And then he said, oh, Nyingji Akaka, so sorry. But he carried his business as usual. Time passed. Then after a while, the ghost came again and said, my dear friend, one member of the family down passed away last night. He said, oh, so sorry. Oh, money pay me. Then one day the ghost came and said, my dear friend, it is your turn to go. Then the human friend, scared, exhausted, shattered, and he said, I requested you tell me a little bit in advance. How come you're just telling me now? Then the ghost said, I've never seen a person so stupid like you. I told you 2 times. The member of the family up died, member of the family down died. You should have that common sense that your turn will soon come. I told you. So that is the truth. That is the real story. We see so many people, even our very close friends, relatives dying, but you always think, my turn will not come. And because of that, you keep on amassing things, clothes, food, so many things, I'm not saying you don't need anything, but we are accumulating more than necessary because of greed. And that's why to remind this, I tell people how many feet you have, how many legs you have, 2. How many shoes you have. Most of us may not have much, but there are people who have like 30 pairs of shoes, 40 pairs of shoes. This is because of greed. Go him do go naro pesha tola ro. Chik nyara chi san la chala sa wa na shi sa. Tama ngo jab bu jab. It's all because of greed. Shows mduati. So if you understand this impermanent nature, you will be able to live a more happier, cheerful, simpler life, and more compassionate to others who are suffering, who are having problems. And there will be no grasping. Especially grasping to self is the source of all the problems, which we are going to explain later on. Now we are not talking about this just philosophically, but physicists call it the second law of thermodynamics. It is also called the arrow of time. Oblivious to our human yearnings for permanence, the universe is relentlessly wearing down. Universe is falling apart, driving itself toward a condition of maximum disorder. It is a question of probabilities. You start from a situation of improbable order, like a deck of cards all arranged according to number and suit, or like a solar system with several planets orbiting nicely about a central star. Then you drop the deck of cards on the floor over and over again. Order has yielded to disorder. Repeated patterns to change. In the end, you cannot defeat the odds. You might beat the house for a while, but the universe has an infinite supply of time and can outlast any player. Universe has time, but your time, you also have time. It's not so much about shortage of time, but because of, as I said, misuse of time. And Shantideva, right in the beginning of his Bodhisattva way of life, he says, Sende yuntung hije nambamang. Life is short, there are too many things to know, especially today. In the so-called age of information, there are too many things to know. Even your mobile phone has so much information. If you just keep on looking at it, your eyesight will fall. It's happening now in the case of many young people. Bong, and then you look. Bong, and then you look. Nothing meaningful there. And most of the information you get is junk information. And you don't have, if you recall how precious your human life is, you have no time to waste your precious eye, precious brain for such stupid junk messages. Right? Does it make sense? If it makes sense, then you have to change a little bit. If you continue the same habit, then not much point. Right? So use this precious human life for something that is meaningful. And do something that outlasts your life. Don't do those things which will die when you die also. Do something that will live longer than your life. Right? That's important. That's called spiritual practice. That's called spiritual practice. And then look at your own body, he says. With age, muscles slacken. Tangoda ning jawar shadu so sak tambora ning jawar jawar tine lori shin tuzu lulu cha ko tanga dinde chokdo chigdo lulu cha. Rwa muscles slacken and grow loose. Lose mass and strength. Can barely support our weight. Reta kantam jene gipo chawdu suzu jigo suzu kimadu. Our weight as we toddle across the room. And why must we suffer such indignities? Because our muscles, like all living tissues, must be repaired from time to time due to normal wear and tear. Recently I was reading a small piece where it says, almost like talking about the cycle of existence, not only in terms of samsara, but in terms of our own life. He was explaining this from the point of view of success. What do we mean by success? And then he says, when you are a toddler, if you are able to, lift your head, that is a success. If you are able to crawl quickly, it's a success. Then you are able to stand on your feet, it's a success. If you don't urinate, it's a success, depending upon your age. Then you go up, and again, finally you reach around 90-something. Then again, if you don't urinate in your pant, it's a success. The same cycle. Right? Because our muscles, like all living tissues, must be repaired from time to time due to normal wear and tear. This repair is made by the Mechano growth factor hormone, which in turn is regulated by the IGF-1 gene. When that gene inevitably loses some time, muscles to flap, vigor to decrepitude, dust to dust. What did they do? Beautifully written article. I don't want to read everything, but so I have given you the hint. How goes on? Number one, you need to understand impermanence so that you are able to see your reality. That means time is flying, your death can be any time. Live your life meaningfully, do something that is beneficial. And don't harm others. Doesn't make sense. Don't create suffering upon others. Doesn't make sense. They are already suffering. For example, if you are on your deathbed, let us say, will you hanker too much after money? If you're sure that you're going to die today or tomorrow, you will worry so much about money. Will you worry so much about your handsomeness or beauty, things like that? Think away. You will be more concerned about what you have done, how you have lived your life. When you're on your deathbed, nobody thinks, I wish I am in the office working. No. People will think, I wish I have done something good to that person. When he or she, came to seek my help, I wish I had helped that person. Because of having not helped, now you regret. Juchala ta thapki damara che gola mago nyar hidochi de ni hine thingdo. Ta kharchini nyar chokariyo ngomane mijigla techara samadach. The wealth that you have accumulated over the years with so much effort, not being able to use, not being able to give it to others, now you are not able to use it. Then you regret, I wish I had used it. I wish I had it given to somebody and brought smile on the face of that person. Chitagdo. If you, therefore, that this thinking on impermanence is really the most important teaching, at least for me. That's why the first teaching that the Buddha gave was on impermanence. Because the first teaching that the Buddha gave us, the Four Noble Truth. Out of which the first teaching that he gave us, truth of suffering. Out of which the first four features of the truth of suffering is impermanence. And one of the last teaching that the Buddha gave us on impermanence. And he said, he just removed his upper cloth and he said, even the Buddha is passing away, look at this. Everything is impermanent. And be a light unto yourself. That was his parting teaching. Be a light unto yourself. He did not say, go out and find a teacher. He said, be a light unto yourself. So if you really think about impermanence repeatedly, there will be quantum leap in your spiritual practice. Ti masamna? Metawa samla madana? Kakore. Kakore sha dinde samgado. Nga dinde hiu samgyo sigmeda. Dinde surgado. I'm not saying I'm a great practitioner of impermanence, but this is what I'm feeling after reading so many of these texts and books. So it's really important. When you think about impermanence, then you will be able to imagine you are like one of the people, moving in a boat in a turbulent sea. Imagine yourself in a boat with other people in a turbulent sea. Will you be nice to those other fellow travelers? Will you be nice? You are traveling in a boat with a group of people in a rough sea, turbulent sea. Will you be nice? Huh? You don't need Dharma teaching. At that time, by nature, you will be nice. Everybody will try to help each other, look at each other, smile, or whatever, Thang demo do lu ala thalase. Gao tokpon do la urjin pemase. There's a Tibetan, I don't know how to translate it properly. There's a Tibetan saying which says, when you are traveling through a wide open plain area, then you will sing the song, "Ala thala thala re," that kind of song. Gao tokpo levde, when you pass through a abyss or cliff, then you remember Guru Pema Samba, Omang Beza Guru Pema Samba. You see? So if you don't practice now, when you have time, when you have facilities, when you have opportunity, then at the time when you pass through that cliff, when you travel through this turbulence, even if you remember, it may be too late. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, when you get this problem, the only solution, help that will come is if you have spent time thinking about this truths and conditioned your mind with these positive emotions. Then that will help you. No one else can help you. Remare. When your purses are jingling with money, you have many friends around. But when you are suffering, not many friends. Only few true friends maybe. Even they can't do much with you. When you are internally bleeding or suffering, even your friends can't do much. Remare, this is the Karva Sache, bitter truth. This is the bitter truth. So therefore, this teaching on impermanence is really like mind-blowing. Okay? Any questions before I stop 5 minutes there? Any questions? In the Buddhist process of practice, you can ask questions to others and also you can ask questions to yourself. Right now I'm saying if you have any questions to me, you can ask. Otherwise you ask questions to yourself and find answers, not just reading book, but use your Khopri brain. Use your Khopri, use your brain. Then you will find answer by yourself. Then you will become a very intelligent person. Just thinking and asking and questioning, It's very, very important. Any questions? No question? Mayagala. Such a group of disciplined people. Don't ask any question. No question. Okay, then we stop here. Thank you.